Yeah.
There was that theory going around where I was these two guys and they always have like their little Marvel action figures and stuff in front of their mics, and they
Yeah.
had said, I'm pretty sure it was them, and they were like, if you look at all their Earths are like a bunch of numbers, right?
Hmm.
And if you look at those numbers, each number like Earth 616 is super far from Earth, whatever Andrew Garfield's on or whatever Tobey Maguire's on, and they're like, the further the Earth is from your Earth, the more different that they would look.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, that's actually a really good point in theory.
mhm. But I feel like they're only saying that because of what they got. So let's
Mm,
say if No Way Home was rewritten and they didn't have Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire, let's just say in like some weird other universe, say in our multiverse, right? And it was just two more Tom Hollands completely different. There was a
mm,
Venom Tom Holland, and then there was another Tom Holland, but he was portraying let's say Spider Punk. There was a Spider Punk Tom Holland, right? Let's just say. And that was Spider-Man No Way Home. They still followed the multiverse story, but that's all it was just two different Tom Hollands.
yeah.
So if they had did that, then it would have been kind of more interesting to be like, okay, so it's just Tom Holland and just a different universe, and I guess he has a different story. But now they're throwing in these cameos because one, it's something that everybody dreamed about. Um, and two, it's the money grab thing. And I think that's what's going to mess up future Marvel movies, especially Secret Wars, because let's be honest, I we all know that Secret Wars is really uh a great
It's really called Cameo Wars.
it's really called Cameo Wars. It's a great comic to read though. It's a super
Yeah.
awesome comic, but like you said, it's gonna be called Cameo Wars.
Yeah. And the thing is too is like where Spider-Man No Way Home does right, um, is that they didn't do too much. Like they only stayed in the within the realm of like three universes, which still kind of doesn't make sense because if it's like if everybody that knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker, I feel like there would be a lot more threats already like that have already entered, and then a lot more Peter Parkers that would already entered. If that's the case, if other Peter Parkers are, transferring over, I feel like there should have been other Peter Parkers, coming in uh, into the fold because all we got was two other Peter Parkers, but then we got the villains from only those movies. Again, another just a cameo fest.
Yeah.
But like I was saying earlier, they didn't do too much because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they did bring in too many villains and too many Peter Parkers, then it'd be like
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming. So the fact that they kept it so minuscule, um, it made sense for the story, and it wasn't like none of the characters were like too distracting from the story or like, you know, creating any like plot holes or anything. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
everybody just every character had their part and it was done well. Um, and the same like it's same with like when we were talking about like Loki and stuff, how Loki does the multiverse well. It was different versions of him. Like they had
Like the old school Loki with the
the
like.
old school Loki. They had a female Loki, which just was Sylvie. They had a kid Loki. They had an alligator Loki. So it's like these like different types of the same character, just in at different looks, rather than someone who's played Loki in the past, which I'm pretty sure no one. Um,
Yeah.
but you get where I'm getting at. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
in the sense where the character will look different. It makes sense. It doesn't always have to be, oh, Loki looks like Loki. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like there was the two Tom Hiddleston Lokis, the like the President Loki, and then the original Loki.
Yeah.
So
I think also having Andrew Garfield and Toby Maguire come back was really good, but like you said, with the whole cameo thing, it would have been super nice, and it would have been very different for them to go up against other Spider-Man villains. Like, wouldn't it have been cool if like
Yeah.
Scorpion came through? We finally get to see Rhino in action because we were, uh, robbed of it in Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I'm not gonna
Hmm.
lie, I didn't really like that Rhino like that. But we get to see like other characters. You know what I'm saying? Shocker. Um, there could have just been the Venom symbiote. Oh, I guess he came at the end of No Way Home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came at the end of No Way Home. But stuff like that, I feel like it just would have been a little bit different to see them go up against villains that they're like, oh my god, I've never gone up against this villain before, and just see what they could do with that. Instead of kind of rekindle all the old problems that the old Peter Parkers had, because it was
Hmm.
basically just Tom Holland's Peter Parker dealing with these guys' problems ultimately.
Yeah. Pretty much. I
And
think,
it,
and then also kind of like ruins those movies in a way. Not really, not necessarily ruins them. I feel like it pays good homage, but
I think it
in a
ruins it. I
in a way, because in those movies they die. I mean, that's not, the purpose of their role, but it's like ultimately in the end they're defeated. They ended up dying due to their own doings, all of them, and then now you save them, and now they're what's supposed to be back to good all of a sudden. And in those universes, so like say if that actually affected the movie. So you go back and watch like Spider-Man 2, right? And Doc Ock's, well, actually no, that's a bad one because he already turned good kind of at the end of Spider-Man 2 when he
mhm.
destroyed his own machine. So I would say Green Goblin. So Green Goblin goes back, and he no longer has that split personality, that the Goblin serum inside of him. So
Mm.
it's like what like is he still gonna fucking die? That's because you
Yeah,
remember
is
when
he
he gets
just gonna
impaled.
like right? Is he gonna come back and then be at the same exact spot and
Hey,
then the
if
gliders come
no,
in?
nothing changes there. He just goes later. Then dies.
Later, stop. Thought we talked about this. And then what? Flint Marco goes back to jail.
That is true. He actually didn't die. I feel like he had no purpose being there.
He had no purpose being there at all, and then he just
He didn't
like
die.
was
He didn't die, and the lizard didn't die. They were both locked up.
the lizard. Didn't Yeah, the lizard didn't die. And then what else? There was another. That was it.
In my honest opinion, I think it would have made sense if they only chose villains that didn't die.
Yeah, they only chose them that didn't because it would just
So
make more
it would
sense.
be like lizard. It would be
Well, it couldn't be
lizard,
the lizard
Sandman.
though. Would it?
Lizard, they pulled him right before he was healed,
Right before he was healed, they pulled Sandman right
and then
before.
just basically re-healed him at the end of fucking No Way Home. So that was kind of dumb.
Actually, you want to know what's fucking crazy is that out of all of them, Sandman was the only one who kept his powers because in Spider-Man 3, he drifted off into fucking dust. He still had his powers. Lizard lost his powers. Green Goblin and all Doc Ock died. Shocker died. He
Hold on,
was
who'd
the
you say,
only one.
Sandman?
Or yes, Sandman was the only one who like had his powers.
Oh yeah, so they actually healed him for no fucking reason.
They, th- but that's like a kind of like a plot hole because how the fuck did you know that? How did you know that you can find a cure
I'm
for
also
him?
just remembering I said earlier that there wasn't many plot holes in this movie, and as we're talking about it, there's so many plot holes now.
There's a plot hole because everybody came back with their powers. The only one who ever kept their powers out of the whole Sinister Six was Sandman. And
Right.
how come all of a sudden they knew how to cure Sandman? Because Toby Maguire's Spider-Man never told Tom Holland's Spider-Man how he got his powers. How
Well,
the hell
that's
did
why
Toby?
he created that one. That's why.
Who
So
created that
remember
one?
how they picked their own to figure out. So it's like Toby did Green Goblin, and he did Sandman's,
He
because
did
Sandman's
Sandman's.
was the super collider.
The
So he
Super
just made a
Collider.
handheld version that would reverse it pretty much.
Mhm. What also kind of I don't know it confuses me a little bit when he had got the serum from I think I'm writing it wrong. He was working on a serum for uh, Norman Osborn. He said he's
Hmm.
been thinking about it for a while. Why would he be thinking about it? Because Norman Osborn's dead.
Well, I mean, it's probably one of those, if I could have helped, this is how I would do it.
This is how he would do it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. If it's like that, then that makes sense. Because I was about to say both Osborns are dead,
because
Norman and
he
Harry.
didn't find out that Norman was Green Goblin until what, the last fight, right? The very
The
last fight.
the third act, yeah.
Yeah, when they
He
were
didn't know
fighting
it
in
was
that
Norman.
building, he was, until he took his helmet off, he's like, "It's me."
Peter,
Um,
stop. And
yeah,
then Harry had died, but he already knew that Harry was who he was.
yeah. I don't. Well, I was gonna say I don't get why he didn't come back, but I do get why he didn't come back because James Franco.
Yeah.
Uh, but
That's
I don't know.
outside reasons.
I don't. Yeah, it just creates a lot of plot holes.
Mhm.
I mean, they even could have brought Rhino back. I mean, but gave him a makeover like they did with Electro, because Electro looked like fucking absolute shit in Spider-Man 2 or TASM 2.
Yeah, and then he wanted to come back, and we were like, hey,
Yeah,
let's
I
make him a
mean the
little
No Way
bit
Home
comic
version,
accurate.
the No Way Home version was a lot better.
Yeah, it did him justice. I think Jamie
Mhm.
Foxx was the only one who got some justice done. Because
Pretty
everybody
much.
else, obviously, they weren't fucked up. They came back and they looked completely fine. They looked like their
Mhm.
old selves. The only one who looked, it would have been really ugly to see again was another blue Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, or Topher Grace Venom.
I'm glad they didn't do that. All right. The multiverse has become too much of an obsession.
That's true.
All right. We'll read this
Because you
first
think like in
paragraph.
the last couple of years, it's been
Multiversal
like
movies.
it's been like Loki to No Way Home to Multiverse of Madness to the Flash to the Across the
Quantum
Spider
Mania.
Verse.
Well, no,
Yeah,
not Quantum Mania, because they didn't really. There wasn't really a
no,
cameo
no,
face in Quantum Mania.
no, just the end credit with well, that's not really a cameo fest. It's in that sense, I feel like it makes a lot more like it's a lot better that way. The way they did it with Jonathan Majors, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like every king was just
Mm.
him.
Well, the Council of Kings. Oh,
Yeah.
sure. That's even though Ant-Man. I'm kind of glad we brought that up a little bit. Even though with Ant-Man, it wasn't the best movie. All right, it wasn't the best Marvel movie. It was. It was good in a way to where we kind of know who Kang is, and it gives us a good blueprint of Kang and what
Hmm.
we are to expect. And that should be what the multiverse saga is about. Give us more insight on the multiverse. You don't have to add cameos, but explain the multiverse a little bit further, introduce all these characters that we haven't seen, and give us more insight on the next Avengers level threat, which is Kang himself.
I feel like where a lot of these movies need to kind of, I feel like the number one movie to catch up on is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I feel like that's probably like one of the best examples of the multiverse that there is. Obviously, they went about it very kind of differently, where it's like you just gain the consciousness of each multiversal variant.
Mhm.
Because like you notice in the movie, like they never really meet each other. It's just there's just switching consciousness and stuff. That's a good
Mhm.
concept, but obviously for like superhero movies and stuff like that, it's more of like variants and stuff.
Mhm.
But I feel like the way they went about it was a lot better than the way that most comic book movies have been.
Mhm. I've not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. I've heard it was
Great
really,
movie.
really good though.
Yeah,
I gotta watch it.
great movie.
All right. Let's read this first one. Oh, CW stuff. Though many non superhero related TV shows and feature films have explored the multiverse, including Mr. Nobody, Sliding Doors, Another Earth, and the more recent Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's
Mhm.
funny that you say that. The concept was first introduced into comic book adaptation in Warner Bros. DC show The CW's Arrowverse, crossed over with Supergirl on CBS, revealed to have been taking place in a different reality of the multiverse. This led to some epic crossover events in the Arrowverse, including 2018's Elseworld, 2019's Crisis on Infinite Earth, and 2021's Armageddon. And the multiverse was also becoming an obsession on the big screen. It's
Yeah,
crazy how you mentioned
the
that.
crisis events were, I feel like, done very well. They didn't do too much. There wasn't too many cameo fests. They had like one little moment which I feel like was just perfect. It wasn't too much, but it was just one little moment where there was one where Ezra Miller's Flash comes into
Grant Gustin's
Grant Gustin's
universe.
Flash universe, and they kind of like meet each other and like admiring each other's like suits or whatever. They brought back Brandon Routh's Superman from Superman Return, but instead of
2006.
so instead of him being just that regular Superman from that time, they turned him into the Kingdom Come Superman, which was perfect for his version. He's a lot older. Um, that Superman has been through a lot more. They even brought in Kevin Conroy to be the Kingdom Come Batman.
No
So it's like,
fucking way. That's
yeah.
fire.
So it's like the cameos weren't like too much, and like whenever they had like a different variant, it was just played by the same actor. Like I remember they had a Crisis on Earth X, and Earth X is basically if the Nazis won the war and they just took over Earth pretty much. And like Supergirl and Arrow and I think Flash, they were all just like pretty much Nazis. So it's like, but they were played by the same, characters, just different outfits, different looks,
different
so, like,
story, obviously.
Yeah, different story. Like stuff like that, I feel like makes a lot more sense than to just try to like cash grab on like cameos, because if they wanted to, they literally could have just been like, all right, we're gonna get like the old Flash, which they have, which is in this case where it makes sense is Barry Allen's dad in the show played the Flash, like the actor played the Flash back in like way back in the day. I think it was in the 80s. He played the Flash TV show in that time, and then they casted him to be the father of this Grant Gustin's Barry Allen. And then at some point too, in another multiverse event, that Flash from the TV era, comes back, and he even recognizes that he looks like his dad. So like it was, those type of little cameos, I feel like work better than trying to just nostalgia factor everything. I mean, obviously that's another nostalgia factor, but they actually do use him more than once, so it's not like it's just a one-time thing, so everybody can watch. In those cases, it's a lot better. So like, if the old X-Men movies transferred over into the MCU, I feel like that works better than just having them there just for a cameo, like they did, like they did in Multiverse of Madness with
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Now, a word from our sponsors.
This video is brought to you by CPR Ninjas. If you live in the Central Florida area, then this is a place for you to get CPR certified. At CPR Ninjas, their passion is to provide you with knowledge and skills needed to perform high-quality CPR with accuracy and precision. Javon and Lysandra Washington have been working in the healthcare industry since the mid-1990s and share 35 plus years combined in healthcare.
Javon and Lysandra are both registered nurses with diverse backgrounds, which include home care, hospital care, acute care, wound care, hospice care, pediatrics, research, and higher learning education. Together, they share a passion to reach the community, provide education that will save lives, and improve quality of life. As American Health Association instructors, they also share the same vision with the AHA to building a healthier tomorrow.
If you want to get started on a course today, go ahead and email Javon at cprninjas.com, or if you want to call, it's 813-603-6898.